In the heart of the English countryside, there's a quaint little village that seems straight out of a picture book. Rolling hills, a babbling brook, and houses with thatched roofs and creeper-covered walls. It's the perfect setting for a quiet, peaceful life, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. But looks can be deceiving. For one house in particular has a dark secret that sends shivers down the spines of those who dare to venture too close. Locals call it the Screaming House, a moniker that comes from the blood-curdling screams that have been heard echoing from its desolate halls for years. Many have tried to unravel the mystery behind these haunting sounds, but none have come close to discovering the truth. What exactly is going on in that old farmhouse? Is it just a figment of the villagers' imaginations? Or is there something more sinister at play? Let's find out. As we take a closer look at the history of this haunted house, we might start to uncover the disturbing secrets that lie within its walls. Join me on this journey as we explore the terrifying tale of the farmhouse that haunts everyone around it. Nestled in the picturesque village of Little Bleasby, Nottinghamshire, stands an unassuming farmhouse known locally as the Screaming House. The name might strike fear into the hearts of some, but to the locals, it's just another part of their quaint neighborhood. However, for those who've had the misfortune of hearing the chilling sounds that emanate from the farmhouse, they know that there's nothing ordinary about it. The Screaming House has a long and mysterious history, having stood in the same spot for hundreds of years. Over the decades, it's seen countless seasons come and go, each leaving its own stories and secrets behind. As we delve deeper into the archives, we might find clues as to what might have caused the farmhouse to earn its fearsome reputation. From past tragedies to lingering spirits, anything could be lurking around every corner. One stormy night, a family gathered around the fireplace in the living room of the Screaming House, seeking solace from the wind and rain battering against the windows. The father cleared his throat and began to share tales of the house's eerie history, each story more spine-chilling than the last. The children sat mesmerized, their eyes wide with wonder and a touch of fear. Suddenly a blood-curdling scream pierced through the night, making them all jump. "Did you hear that?" whispered the youngest child, clutching his blanket tightly. The father shook his head, a tunius playing on his lips. "It's just the wind," he said, trying to sound reassuring. But deep down, he couldn't help but wonder if there was more to the noise than met the ear. For years, rumors have swirled around the Screaming House, with many believing it to be haunted by the ghost of a woman who lived there in the 18th century. Legend has it that she was a kind-hearted soul who treated her animals like family, spending her days tending to her garden and the animals in her care. But when her beloved dog died, she was overcome with grief and never recovered. Some say her spirit still lingers in the house, searching for her faithful companion. Others claim to have seen her ghost wandering the grounds forever searching for her lost friend. Whether these stories are true or just fanciful tales told to scare unsuspecting visitors, they've become an integral part of the Screaming House's lore. But the mystery doesn't end there. Throughout the years, people have reported hearing strange noises coming from the abandoned farmhouse, leading some to believe that there may be more than one ghost residing there. There have been accounts of footsteps in the attic, whispers in the dead of night, and even the sound of ghostly laughter echoing through the empty rooms. These unsettling sounds have only added to the intrigue surrounding the Screaming House, leaving many to wonder what other secrets lie hidden within its four walls. As we continue our exploration of the Screaming House, we might discover more about the restless spirits that are said to haunt its halls. But for now, let us take a closer look at the physical structure of the farmhouse, and what it might reveal about its mysterious history. Built in the 17th century, the Screaming House is a grand, yet somewhat dilapidated structure made of rough-cast stone. Its exterior gives little hint as to the horrors that are said to have transpired within its walls over the years. As we step inside, however, we begin to get a sense of the house's eerie atmosphere. The interior is dark and dusty, with cobwebs hanging from the ceiling and furniture covered in white sheets, presumably to protect it from the elements and any potential vandals. There is a heavy set of wooden stairs in the center of the room leading to the upper floor. The air is thick with the scent of decay, and the only sound is the creaking of the floorboards beneath our feet. One of the most striking features of the farmhouse is the large inglenook fireplace in the main living room. It's a testament to the house's age and offers a glimpse into the lives of those who lived here in centuries past. Above the fireplace is a large stone lintel with a heavy wooden beam supporting the roof. In the flickering light of a candle, the shadows cast by the beams and rafters create an eerie, almost menacing atmosphere. The room is bare except for a few old pieces of furniture and a single window that lets in a sliver of light. The heavy curtains are drawn, plunging the room into near darkness. As we make our way through the house, we come across a bedroom with a four-poster bed in the corner. The canopy is adorned with faded floral chintz, and the mattress is covered in a heavy quilt. The walls are bare except for a single mirror hanging crookedly above the dresser. In another room, we find a kitchen with a large stone sink set into the counter. The cupboards are bare, but we can imagine the ghosts of meals past being prepared here. The sound of pots and pans clattering echoes in our ears long after we've left the room. Finally, we climb the creaky stairs to the upper floor, where we find more bedrooms and what appears to be a nursery. Here, the walls are painted a pale blue, and a rocking horse stands in the corner. The air is heavy with the scent of lavender and old wood. As we explore the rooms, we can't shake the feeling that we're not alone. The silence is deafening, broken only by the sound of our own footsteps. The weight of the house's history presses down on us, and we can't help but wonder about the lives of those who once called this place home. And as we make our way back downstairs, we can't help but feel that we're being watched. The mystery of the Screaming House continues to deepen as we learn more about the people who have lived and died there. The diaries of Elizabeth Goff, who lived in the house in the 19th century, provide an intimate glimpse into the daily life of a woman living in the remote farmhouse. Her entries tell a story of a solitary existence, with Elizabeth spending her days tending to her garden and her nights reading by the fire. But as we delve deeper into her writings, we begin to notice a disturbing pattern. Elizabeth frequently writes about hearing strange noises in the house, such as footsteps in the attic and disembodied voices. She also describes feeling a constant sense of dread and loneliness, as if she were being watched by an unseen presence. While Elizabeth's diary offers a personal perspective on the strange occurrences at the Screaming House, there are other records that shed light on more sinister aspects of the farmhouse. The local church records contain the names of several children who died in the house, each entry adding another layer of tragedy to its already haunting history. The cause of death is often listed as unknown, leaving us to wonder if there might be a darker explanation. Could the deaths of these children be linked to the malevolent forces that are said to haunt the Screaming House? Or are these theories nothing more than superstitious tales? As we piece together the fragmented history of the Screaming House, we must consider the possibility that the tragic events recorded in these documents may not be mere accidents or illnesses. Could there be a more sinister force at play, something evil lurking within the walls of the farmhouse? If so, what could it be, and how might it be connected to the strange occurrences reported by Elizabeth and others who have lived in the house? As we continue our investigation, we must also confront the possibility that the Screaming House may not be just a place of tragedy and sorrow, but also of unimaginable horror. The diaries, church records, and local legends all hint at a darkness that permeates the very foundation of the farmhouse. And as we delve deeper into its secrets, we must be prepared for what we might find. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate the beauty of the area surrounding the Screaming House. Little Bleasby is a picturesque village located in the heart of the English countryside. The streets are lined with charming cottages, and the rolling hills beyond the village are dotted with grazing sheep and cattle. Despite its proximity to major cities like Nottingham and Worksop, Little Bleasby retains a strong sense of community and tranquility. The River Idle runs through the village, providing a peaceful backdrop for leisurely walks and nature enthusiasts alike. If you ever find yourself in the area, be sure to take some time to explore the nearby towns and villages. Each one has its own unique charm and character, offering a glimpse into the rich history and culture of the region. Just be sure to keep an eye out for any screaming houses. This apartment was cursed. No one could live there for longer than 2 weeks without something terrible happening to them, and it turns out that the reason is both terrifying and sad. It all started when the building was constructed in the early 1900s. Back then, they didn't have many safety regulations or requirements for buildings like they do today, so the builders cut some corners. They used cheap materials and didn't reinforce the upper floors at all. This wasn't a big deal because most people would never go up to the top floor anyway. It was just storage space. But they also built an apartment right under the roof. This was apartment 7B. In the 1930s, a family moved into the apartment. They had no idea about any of the construction issues with the building, but they were very excited to move into their new home. The father worked as a baker and would come home every day with fresh bread for his wife and kids. They lived there happily for over a decade until one night the unthinkable happened. It was around 3 a.m. when the family was awoken by the sound of a loud crash. They looked around, confused, and went back to sleep. They assumed that it was just a pipe that burst or something. But in reality, the whole floor above them had collapsed. There was now a gaping hole directly above their bed. To make matters worse, this was a 5-story building and they lived on the 4th floor, so the fall was significant. The father immediately ran to the window and yelled for help. Their neighbors heard him and called the police. When the officers arrived, they used a ladder to climb through the hole and rescue the family. They had suffered serious injuries, but they were alive. After the incident, the building owner reinforced the upper floors so this would never happen again. The family moved out shortly after, and no one ever lived in apartment 7B again. For decades, the apartment remained vacant until a young couple decided to move in. They didn't know the history of the apartment and weren't scared of anything. The first few months went well, and everything seemed fine. But then strange things started to happen. At first, these events were small and insignificant, like objects randomly falling off shelves or pictures hanging crookedly on the walls, slowly turning straight. They tried to ignore these things, assuming that they were just misplacing things, or that they were just being paranoid. But the incidents kept escalating. One day, the woman was making dinner in the kitchen when she suddenly felt a strong breeze behind her. She turned around, confused, and saw the window. It was wide open, even though she had closed it earlier and locked it. She quickly closed it and continued cooking. But this wasn't the last time this happened. Throughout the next few days, she would often come home from work to find the windows wide open. She told her husband about this, but he thought that she was just making things up. On another occasion, the man was taking a shower when the water suddenly turned freezing cold. He stepped out of the shower, annoyed, and went to investigate. He found that the hot water knob had turned itself completely to the left. Every time he turned the knob to the temperature he wanted, it would turn itself back. This happened several times, and he eventually gave up. Then the scariest incidents began to occur. One night, the couple was awoken by the sound of footsteps pacing back and forth in the apartment. They looked around, confused, and saw nothing. They assumed that it was their neighbors making noise, and went back to sleep. But the footsteps kept getting louder and more aggressive. They sounded like someone was running in place. Then the shaking stopped. Silence filled the room. The couple stayed perfectly still, listening intently for any noise. Then they heard it again, but this time it was coming from outside the apartment. It sounded like someone was running down the hallway, then up the stairs. The couple stayed silent, not moving a muscle. Suddenly, their bedroom door swung open and slammed against the wall. They screamed and hugged each other in terror. But the door was still pushed open. Then just as suddenly as it began, the commotion outside the door stopped. The couple stayed in bed for hours, too afraid to move until the sun came up. In the morning, they got up and cautiously approached the door. They opened it slightly and walked out into the hallway. They looked around to see if anyone was there, but no one was in sight. They had never seen anyone else living in their apartment building. It was always empty. The couple decided to move out as soon as possible. They never went back into that apartment again. Years passed, and the apartment remained vacant. That is, until another young couple moved in. They were excited to start their new life together, and had no idea what was in store for them. In the beginning, everything seemed fine, but just like the previous couple, strange things started to happen. One day, the woman was sitting on the couch reading a book when she heard a loud crash from the closet. She immediately dropped her book and hid under the coffee table. She started crying, too afraid to get up. Then she heard footsteps approaching the closet. She peeked over the edge of the table and saw the door opening. As she watched in horror, a rocking horse from the closet stepped out. It walked towards her and reached out its wooden hand. Then it disappeared. She told her husband about what she saw, but he didn't believe her. He said that she was stressed out and needed to relax. But she knew that what she saw was real. She tried to explain this to her husband, but he just got angry and told her to stop being crazy. Eventually, she gave up and pretended to agree with him. But one night, her husband was awoken by a blood-curdling scream. He immediately got up and rushed to the living room. He found the woman standing in front of the fireplace crying. She explained to him what had just happened. She told him how she was sitting on the couch when the rocking horse came out of the closet and offered her its hand. Then the lights flickered and the fireplace roared to life. The flames reached out and grabbed her, but they burned her soul instead of her body. Her spirit was trapped in the apartment forever. Her husband tried to comfort her, but she was terrified. She knew that she wasn't safe in the apartment and begged her husband to leave, but he refused. He didn't believe her and wanted to stay with her. She cried for hours, but eventually calmed down. She told him that she would go to a friend's house, but he insisted that she stay with him. She reluctantly agreed and fell asleep in his arms. In the morning, she woke up feeling refreshed. She thanked her husband and told him that she loved him. Then she got up and started making breakfast. As they ate, her husband asked her if she was sure that she was okay. She nodded and smiled. Then she blacked out. Her body started shaking uncontrollably and her eyes turned black. Her soul was pulled from her body and thrown into the fireplace. Her husband watched in horror as she turned into a pile of ashes. No one knows what happened to her soul, but it's believed that it's still trapped in the apartment, waiting to be freed. The apartment has been empty ever since. Some believe that the only way to free the trapped souls is to destroy the apartment. So the building's owner boarded up the apartment and left it untouched. But that might not be the solution. Maybe the souls will never be free. Now, with that said, do you think that these stories are true? And if so, would you dare spend the night in either of these apartments? Let me know your thoughts. Also, be sure to stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching. What do you do when you find out your new house has a secret, one with a horrifying past? Are you going to tell the police? Maybe try to fix it? What about if that secret is in your fireplace and it's trying to kill you? Yep, today we're looking at the fireplace that spoke my name. It's me, and this is Scary Stories. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new here, welcome. Come for the campfire stories and stay because I also talk about all things writing, like how to write scary stories. And today we are doing something different. Normally, I don't read your comments before I write my stories, but I got a great idea from one of you, so thank you. You guys gave me permission to use your name, and I'm not gonna say it here, because I don't want to out you or anything. But I will give you a shout out at the end of the video, and also leave your social media handle below if you want to follow them. Thank you so much for giving me this story idea. It really was fun to write, and I hope you enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed reading it. As a kid, I always wanted an old Victorian house. And when my husband and I finally bought our dream home, it came with a few extra bonuses. The home had been built in 1928, so instead of just normal fireplaces, we had 3 of them. They were everywhere. Each room had its own fireplace, which meant whenever the weather turned cold, we could curl up with a good book or movie and feel cozy. One day, while sitting by the fire in our bedroom, my husband put a log on the fire, and it produced a large spark. I reached out and grabbed it, thinking it would be fun to write with it. I brought it into our office and inscribed John into the wall. We laughed at how goofy we were being, how romantic. Well, the next time we lit the fire, I noticed something odd. The letters were slightly burnt into the wall. Confused, we looked at each other and shrugged it off. But then it started happening again. Every time we lit the fireplace, the letters burned deeper and deeper. We tried everything to stop it, dampening the logs, even putting out the fire before the sparks flew. Nothing worked. My husband decided to research the home's history. He found out the original owner was named John Blackwood. He had lived in the house with his wife and daughter until he died. The house had remained in the family until it was sold to us. According to the records, John Blackwood had died in that very room, right next to the fireplace. Apparently, he had lung cancer and had asked for a doctor to come and euthanize him at home. We weren't sure if there was any significance to the numbers, but just in case, we tried lighting the fire only at midnight. Well, that was no fun. Then we tried writing out a name other than John. We wrote out my name, but that failed. We tried writing the name of the house, but that failed too. No matter what we did, the only name that would burn was John. After researching the history of the house some more, we discovered that John's daughter had died mysteriously a few years after her father's death. Her name was Mary Blackwood. So we decided to try writing her name, and lo and behold, it burned. Next to John's name, Mary's name appeared. I told my husband we needed to get rid of those names. Even though they were fascinating and almost a part of the house's history, they were also terrifying. As soon as the sun went down, I became paranoid that John and his daughter were trying to contact me through the fireplace. I couldn't sleep during the night, convinced that their ghosts were going to climb out of the fireplace and attack me. The names continued to reappear every night. After a week, I told my husband we had to move out. There was no way I was staying there another night. We packed our things and left. A few weeks later, we returned to check on the house and see if the names had stopped appearing. They hadn't. In fact, they were burning brightly. As I stood there staring at the fire, watching the flames dance across the letters, I heard a voice. It spoke my name. I turned around quickly, but there was no one there. I listened intently, hoping to hear it again. There it was. It said, "Come inside." I didn't respond, frozen in fear. It said it again, but louder this time. "Come inside." I raced back to my car and slammed the door shut. I kept hearing the voice in my head over and over. I wanted to get as far away from that house as possible. As I drove down the road, I glanced at my rearview mirror. I saw what looked like a woman standing next to the fireplace, waving at me. I've never driven so fast. When I finally got home, I threw myself onto my couch, trying to calm down. The voice echoed in my mind. "Come inside. Come inside. Come inside." It wouldn't stop. I got a call from my neighbor. She said she'd noticed someone in our house. She said she thought it was strange because our power had been disconnected due to non-payment. I thanked her and hung up the phone. My husband and I discussed what we should do. We knew we couldn't keep the house. There was no way I was going back there. My husband contacted the real estate agent and told her we needed to sell the house immediately. We dropped the asking price by $500,000, and within a week we had a buyer. Moving day arrived and we started packing up our things. My husband insisted I spend the last night at my sister's house instead of finishing up at the office. But I wanted to finish packing, and I didn't want him to think I was being dramatic. I told him I'd be fine and he should go ahead and meet up with the moving truck. When the coast was clear, I snuck back into the house and headed straight to the office. As I sat at my desk packing up files, I heard a noise behind me. I froze. I slowly turned my head and saw the fireplace. Flames danced merrily inside. Then I noticed something else. Etched into the mantel above the fireplace was the date, January 1888. I knew what I had to do. Taking a deep breath, I walked over to the fireplace, grabbed a log, and inscribed my name into the mantel. I smiled, feeling empowered and strong. No ghosts were going to harm me. Not tonight. I heard a loud crack and turned to see the fireplace. In front of me the fire roared and danced, but there was no wood in it. The logs had vanished. I could feel the heat coming from the fireplace, and it smelled like burning wood, but there was nothing in the fire. It was empty. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. Standing in front of the fireplace, watching me with glowing red eyes, was a woman. She was tall and thin with long black hair covering most of her face. I stared at her in disbelief as she took a step towards me, and that's when I woke up. I shot up in bed, heart pounding, gasping for air. It was dark, but the first rays of sunlight were starting to peek in through the window. My sister was sitting next to me, her face etched with concern. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You were screaming." I nodded, forcing myself to calm down. I didn't want her to worry. "I'm fine," I whispered, but I knew I wasn't. That day, the house sold. As the moving van pulled away, I watched from afar, knowing that I would never forget the horrors that had unfolded within those walls. The fireplace may have seemed like a mere decorative feature, but it was a portal to another world, a world where John and Mary Blackwood awaited their next victim. Now, as I sit here telling you this story, I can't help but feel their presence watching me, waiting for their turn to whisper my name once more. Their voices echo in my dreams, pulling me back to that terrifying night. Thank you so much for listening to my story today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know by giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you get notified every time I post a new story. And as always, happy haunting.